represent the Sandrof Lifetime Achievement Committee. And tonight, I'm giving the award to Pan Americans, which we've announced before. So I'm sure most of you are sick of hearing me come up every year and talk about the Sandrof, and I say the same old thing, but bear with me. My job is only to tell you what the Sandrof is about. The Ivan Sandrof Lifetime Achievement Award is named after the first president of the NBCC. His name was Ivan Sandrof. And he was a book critic at the Worcester Telegram. John Leonard, who won this award a couple of years ago, I asked him, how did you decide who to name it after? And he laughed and he said, you know, Ivan Sandrof was such a quiet guy, and we all decided, oh, just give it to him. He can handle it, and if he gets into trouble, then he'll handle it. So that's how that came about. But he was also the first president. The award is given for a lifetime engagement with literary culture. We have given the award to individuals, and very rarely do we give it to organizations. Among those who have, among those who have received the organizations that have gotten it have been the Oxford University Press, as well as the Library of America. Others include Elizabeth Harper, Bill Henderson, who was from Pushcart Press, Stutz Turco. And this evening we've asked somebody to present the award to Penn. He will, as a social critic, Mr. Delbanco, Andrew Delbanco, as a social critic and as a writer, he's just the right person to give this award to Penn. He will be able to speak about the role of Penn in literary culture and in today's world, and as well as he represents the NBCC because he's also an author who's written such wonderful books as the biography of Herman Melville. Mr. Delbanco, please.
Good evening. I was very touched by Ron Charles' invocation of my older brother's name. I'm a big fan of Nick Delbanco's, not least because he still calls me Kid, which at the age of 57, not so many people call me. I'm very pleased to be here. I think it was about 15 years ago that I got a call from Paul Berman asking me if I would join the board of Penn American Center. I was flattered. A little wary, I confess, that this would be one of those putative honors that turns into a burden, that maybe Penn had turned to me because they figured someone who had survived a few academic committees would be able to handle the improbable notion of a committee of writers. It turned out, in fact, that I had been introduced to a very remarkable, and I dare use the word noble, organization. I remain very grateful for my own years with Penn, and I'm delighted that it's being honored here today. Penn, as many of you know, is a fellowship of writers. Not everyone realizes it's nearly 100 years old, founded in the aftermath of World War I for the linked purposes of defending free expression, advancing literature, and promoting international literary exchange. It will hardly be news to you that those objectives are even more urgent today than they were at the time of the founding. The obstacles to their fulfillment are always changing. These range from willful enemies in the form of oppressive governments to structural economic change in how books are produced and distributed, to the even more fundamental problems which have already been alluded to of illiteracy and public indifference to why writing matters to our nation and the world. And so Penn has had to be limber, versatile, creative, always, as it were, on its collective toes. And so it has been. Through its Freedom to Write Committee, which works to protect the freedom of the written word wherever it is threatened by defending writers and journalists who are imprisoned or persecuted, of which there are altogether too many. Through the Campaign for Core Freedoms, which fights post-9/11 threats to free expression and human rights in our own country. One hesitates even to say that, but there it is. Through the Prison Writing Program, which has already been alluded to touchingly by Jackson Taylor. A program that offers writing instruction to prisoners in U.S. correctional institutions, something that Penn pioneered in recognizing the terrible primacy among Western nations that we enjoy. I don't think that's probably quite the right word, in the size of our incarcerated population. Penn has also advanced the cause of literature through public programs that present both established and emerging writers, through literary awards that recognize excellence in many genres, and through the Readers and Writers program that brings young people into contact with living writers at high school workshops and the like, in an effort to cultivate and encourage the future readers on whom literature depends. For decades, too, Penn has built a sense of local fellowship right here in our city, in the New York literary world, through focusing on translation, children's and young adult book authors, and the promotion of diversity in literature and publishing. More recently, Penn has done much to realize its founding aspirations to create a world community of writers. 5 years ago, it launched Penn World Voices, New York's first and still America's only festival of international writing, which brings together more than 100 writers from all parts of the globe for more than 50 events and locations all over the city. At the same time, it moved to support translation, what Susan Sontag called the circulatory system of the world. And with the help of a generous and anonymous donor, it has created an influential program of translation grants that is beginning to address the sorry fact that only a tiny fraction of books published in this country are translated from foreign languages. These many achievements have come through the efforts, quite obviously, of hundreds of people over many decades. I do want to note in particular Penn's extraordinary executive director, Michael Roberts, who's here tonight, has led the organization with tremendous dedication. Thank you for that spontaneous applause. You all told Mike very much debt. And I'm going to be personal again, possibly immodest, by saying that it was my introduction of Michael to Penn and Penn to Michael that makes me feel I've made a real contribution of my own. It is a very great and also personal pleasure to be able to present this award to two representatives of the organization, also here tonight. One of whom, Ron Chernow, I served with for several years on the board with great pleasure. Ron is, of course, a much and deservedly honored historian and biographer and Penn's immediate past president. The other person representing Penn tonight is another old friend, Larry Kirshbaum, Penn's executive vice president, a very generous friend to culture in the largest sense of the word. I'm going to reiterate my immodesty by saying how proud I am to have introduced Larry to the organization. I think it's 8 or 9 years ago, hard to believe. One of the best bits of matchmaking I've ever done. For all these reasons and many more that you don't want me to go on and on about, I'm very honored to have been asked to perform this task tonight, and it's now my great pleasure to present the National Book Critics Circle Ivan Sandrof Award for Lifetime Achievement to Pan American Center.